Hello, my name is Torquil Campbell. I'm in the band Stars. I am presently on Citadel Hill in beautiful Halifax, and you're watching Rock Cut Media.
Now, your new album's entitled The North. It was released last Tuesday, as I mentioned. So far, are you guys happy with the way it's being received?
Do I take this? Am I taking this mic? Yeah, you know what? I really am. We really got away with it this time. The listeners seem to love it, and I understand that the critics have been kind, and at this point, you know, rock and roll is like a lot of what makes the rock and roll industry work is newness, you know, that there's a high turnover rate. It's hard to keep people's attention for a long time. So the fact that we're 6 albums in and we still have an audience and we still are able to go out and play music for people is amazing. So yeah, it's been going really well. I actually think Stars feel positive, which is quite unusual for us. So yeah, it's going good.
Fantastic. So how do the new songs on your new album differ from the older albums?
I don't think they do all that much. You know, we decided pretty early on what kind of music we were going to make and what kind of stories we were going to tell, and we've been devotees of the pop song all our life, you know, and so we're not really a band that wants to shift radically from album to album. We want to keep refining what we're doing and sort of, you know, there are artists that do a lot of different things over the course of their life, and there's artists that just do the same thing and kind of keep focusing it, keep getting more and more specific with it. And I would say that Stars is that kind of band. So I mean, the way we record is different every time. We're still trying to work out the vagaries and the challenges of just recording an album and making it good and getting the sounds you want and that kind of stuff. Every album we change that method because we're still trying to seek the perfect way to do it. But in terms of like what we're trying to do with the songs or how we're trying to write songs, I think it's pretty consistent with what we've done, really. But it's better, I think. It's the good thing about doing that is that you get better and better at it. You know, if you choose to make it a craft rather than like an impulse thing, then each time you're getting better. So I would just say it's more polished and more disciplined. That's what I would say.
Well said. I mean, for somebody that's new to your music, I mean, how would you describe this new album?
I would say that it's just pop music, you know? There's a lot of genres now. Everybody has a name. It's chill wave and surf pop and you know, it goes on and on and on. And it's just a way of the music business trying to sell things and journalists trying to give themselves a job, really. Pop music is, if you have a hook in what you're doing, it's pop music. Whether it's Duke Ellington or Mozart or Stars or whatever, if you're writing melodically and you're trying to make music that people want to listen to repetitiously, which is what we're doing, then you're a pop songwriter, you know, and we just make songs that tell stories and that try and maybe create a tension between stories that are kind of dark and music that is quite light. And that has been the journey we've been on for many years.
Now, I looked at the cover art on the album, and it struck me because I'm a guy from the 60s.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit before, but I won't go there.
We won't even talk about it.
And I noticed that you have a picture of Habitat 67. What's that all about?
Well, you know, it sort of ties in with the title of the album, The North, and those buildings in Montreal, Habitat 67 and the Big O and stuff, they come from a time in Canada's history when Canada was quite a utopian society. There was a lot of big public projects, there was a kind of dream of the future, and there was a commitment to the idea of the great society, of a society where everybody could participate and public life meant something. And we find ourselves now in a country that is run by a man who wants to turn this into an oligarchy, wants to turn it into an oil manufacturer. And doesn't care about the history of Canada as an open place and a dreaming place and a reaching place. He's a small-minded, ugly little man, and I don't want my Canada to be that. That's not what the North is to me. The North is open, the North is free, the North is big and dreams big. And I think we find ourselves at this period where we're being asked to live in fear and have our expectations be small and monetary. And so we want to try and evoke the spirit of what we feel Canada really is, which is a place where silly buildings get built because we just want to have something beautiful on our landscape. And that's what the North is to me. So it was a way of redefining, I guess, what this country is.
Well, I don't want to get into the political aspects of things.
Oh, no.
You mentioned that, it sounds to me like you're a little disappointed with the way this country is evolving from a political perspective. And, we just finished an election in the province of Quebec, where you're from, your hometown of Montreal. And I'd just like to get a few words from you on what your take is on the way that, what's the impact that election has had on your hometown and your home province?
I haven't lived in Montreal. The whole band lives in Montreal except for me. So I don't live in Montreal, and I don't think I know enough about Quebec politics to really understand what it all means. I was sitting in a bar, though, the other night with a guy in the Mile End, this young guy, and he was like, you know what? It's perfect for me because now everybody will leave. They'll take their money out of Quebec, and the rents will stay low. And Quebec is it's a mystery wrapped inside an enigma. There are so many conflicting pushing and pullings, and this question of sovereignty goes on and on and on and on and on. And yeah, it does sort of arrest the province. It keeps it in this position of never quite getting where it needs to be. On the other hand, it also means that places, Montreal is a place where artists can continue to live because people won't invest business capital in Montreal to the degree that they would in Toronto or Edmonton or Calgary or something like that. So, they say bad times make for good art. And I think in Quebec there's always a conflict, there's always a problem, there's always a scandal. And it's on a public policy level, it's tough. But part of what makes Quebec so magical is that everything's a fucking mess all the time, and things don't get fixed. And in that mess, there's a lot of creativity and a lot of whimsy and a lot of give and take and a lot of playfulness. So, I think it's kind of good the PQ won because it resets the clock again. Quebec will continue to be this crazy place where no one really knows what the hell's going on. And I'm no fan of Pauline Marois, but I don't know. Politicians, really, it's like the douchiest nerd in your high school class got into politics. Everybody knows politicians are like people know. They're like cops. Nobody wants to hang out with them. Sorry if you're a cop. I didn't mean that. I'm sure you're wonderful.
Well said, Torque. I mean, in my 54 years in Quebec, I couldn't have said it better. Mm-hmm. That's what makes Quebec what it is.
Yeah, it's a disaster.
The turmoil continues.
Yeah, where the roads will continue to be shitty, and there'll always be construction, and no one will get anywhere. It's good.
Right. Now, on a brighter note, you've got a photo of the band on your family's porch in North Hatley, and that's something that struck me in a very positive way because that place is very meaningful to me. But what inspired you to use that setting in some of those photos?
That's because North Hatley it's been a big place for Stars. Stars recorded "Set Yourself on Fire" in North Hatley in a house up on the hill, and every time we make a record, we spend time there. We write songs there, and the band have gone up there when my parents are there and hung out with them, and it's just been a place of peace and of fun together, and a place where we kind of reinvent ourselves each time we try and start to make a record. So it means a lot to everybody in the band. It means obviously a huge amount to me, but it means a lot to everybody, that place. And it's just also such architecturally, because it's such a long, beautiful porch. it gives you a really nice depth of field in the photograph. And we had taken photographs there years ago, just casual snapshots, and I always remembered, wow, that was a beautiful place to take a photo. So when we came to doing the press shots this time, I just thought, and plus, you know, it's a cottage town, it's the north, it's kind of the definition of what Canada at its most beautiful is, just this little village in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by trees, you know.
Well, you know, you mentioned the song on that album that you did recently. In fact, the opening narrative was done by your father.
Yeah.
Who
Set Yourself on Fire.
Yeah, which, as you know, was a dear friend of mine, and a famous Canadian actor and icon in Canada. But how much influence did he have on your musical aspirations?
Well, you know, my dad was a theater guy, and I was a theater person, and everybody in my family was a theater person, and so I think, you know, he always wanted me to go back to the theater after I left it. But having said that, it's really inexpressible how much my father gave to me, you know, as an artist, and to all of us. He led by example. My father was a punk. He was a punk. He believed in the punk ethos. He didn't know he believed in the punk ethos because he was born 70 years before punk happened, but he was a punk. And his philosophy of self-realization and self-belief and openness and adventurousness, and his belief that you need to speak truth to power, and you need to kick the pricks, you need to incite and confront things as an artist. That really informed everything I am as an artist, and our commitment to doing it for the listener. You know, I was saying to Amy and Evan yesterday, like, I think one of the things about Stars that's kept us in this game so long is we're in show business. We're entertainers. We're not doing this for us. Yeah, it's wonderful. It's rewarding for us to do this. We love doing it. But we're doing it for the people who buy the records and the people who come to the shows. We're doing it to tell you about your life, to sing songs for you when you're going through a hard time or a good time, when you need to listen to a record. We want to make records that give you what you need. And my father believed in that. He believed that art could give people the strength to continue in their life, and maybe even the strength to change their life. And you know, as you know, Blair, like, my dad was a guy who, I said at his memorial, you know, he didn't need you to have an interesting story. He just wanted you to be interested. And I think that was the biggest thing my dad gave to me and to everybody who encountered him, was this understanding that, like, everybody has a story, everybody is fascinating, and if you're interested in them, you will bring out the best in them. And he just had a talent for that, for making people feel special and making people feel like they wanted to push themselves and become something more. So that's a long-winded answer, but he gave us everything. He really gave us a lot. He was a singer, and he directed opera, and he was a very musical guy. He easily could have gone into music. So it wasn't, you know, primary, but just fate leads you places, right? Like, he got into theater by virtue of the fact that he was around. He got a job driving a truck for Lewis Casson and Sybil Thorndike, but he could have easily been a musician. There was always music in my house and stuff, for sure. Uh-oh, here comes the next band. Can you hear that? Sounds fun, doesn't it?
Everyone will listen to this song, and the radio won't play it. But if you like it, sing along. Sing 'cause you don't know how to say it.